Number 9. Botched Booty. A New York City beautician without a license is facing charges of manslaughter in connection with a fatal botched butt lift procedure, marking her third run-in with the law due to unlicensed silicone injections. Waleska Castillo, aged 44, was arrested on a Wednesday and charged with both manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide after her patient, Lesbia Ayala, tragically passed away on June 17th. The incident occurred during an illicit cosmetic surgery performed at Castillo's unregulated clinic, located within her Bronx residence. Authorities determined that Ayala suffered an embolism as a result of Castillo injecting silicone into her buttocks and thighs. Responding to a distress call at Castillo's home, police discovered Ayala in cardiac arrest, and she was subsequently pronounced dead at the hospital. Her death was classified as a homicide by the medical examiner. Castillo now faces charges of manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, and unauthorized practice of a profession. While her attorney, Robert Osuna, declined to comment on the charges, Castillo's prior legal history includes a guilty plea in September 2011 on federal charges related to performing plastic surgery without a valid medical license. After serving time and being released on probation, she was found conducting unlicensed injections once more in 2014, leading to her return to prison. Court records from her previous arrests revealed that Castillo charged clients $1,500 for each procedure. Additionally, she discouraged patients from seeking medical attention when they experienced post-procedure pain or bleeding. In one instance, a client messaged Castillo about blood and liquid leaking from her buttocks and legs, to which Castillo advised, "Buy some crazy glue and put it on." The procedure in question, buttocks enhancement surgery, commonly referred to as the Brazilian butt lift, has gained popularity in recent years, partly due to the influence of well-known figures like Kim Kardashian and Nicki Minaj. While liquid silicone injections lack approval from the Food and Drug Administration for cosmetic surgery, they often serve as a more affordable alternative to approved methods, such as fat transfer or silicone gel implants. Experts have noted that even the FDA-sanctioned fat transfer procedures for buttock enhancement pose greater risks compared to other cosmetic surgeries. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons has reported that the Brazilian butt lift carries a death rate as high as 1 in 3,000 patients. In 2017 alone, 20,300 of these procedures were performed, and their popularity has more than doubled over the last 5 years. Exact figures for unlicensed silicone butt injections are challenging to ascertain, but cases linking to fatalities have been documented in various locations, including Atlanta and Capitol Heights, Maryland. Number 8. Clumsy Doctors. In 2014, during a tour of Sydney, the world-renowned American hypnotist Dr. Scott Lewis met a tragic end when he inexplicably fell from the balcony of his 11th-story apartment. The 50-year-old artist's life came to a sudden and unexpected conclusion as he crash-landed onto the 4th-floor balcony of another apartment unit. This unfortunate incident forced the cancellation of his sold-out performance at the iconic Sydney Opera House, and it prompted an immediate investigation by local authorities. The initial findings revealed that Lewis had tragically fallen 6 stories, and there were no indications of foul play. Yet the mystery surrounding the circumstances of his fall persisted. One plausible theory suggested that Lewis had been attempting to maneuver between balconies when he lost his footing and tumbled to his demise. If this hypothesis held true, it would undoubtedly be considered a reckless and arguably senseless manner in which to meet one's fate. Mark Kornhauser, a close friend of the late hypnotist for 2 decades, offered his perspective to the Sydney Morning Herald. Kornhauser believed that Lewis might have simply fallen over the balcony railing. He described Lewis as inherently clumsy, prone to stumbling into things, yet at the same time a timid and extremely cautious individual. In essence, Lewis would not have willingly engaged in balcony climbing antics, and suicide was a highly improbable explanation. Regrettably, the details surrounding Lewis's final moments may forever remain cloaked in uncertainty, but it is most likely that a tragic loss of balance led to this unfortunate incident. Number 7. No need for a helmet. On July 2, 2010, 55-year-old Phil Contos lost his life while participating in a helmet protest ride in central New York after getting into a motorcycle accident. He died because he was not wearing a helmet. The news of his passing spread like wildfire. Overnight, Phil, who had lived his life close to his loved ones, became an unintentional symbol. To some, he symbolized the irony of his circumstances, and to others, he represented a debate about personal freedoms, government regulations, and common sense. That year, he had almost decided not to ride because of his ongoing project of rebuilding his 1978 Harley, which was in pieces. But on the morning of the ride, he made a stop at a friend's house, and another friend offered him a ride on a 1983 Harley Superglide. Phil could not resist the allure of a beautiful bike on a nice day, though he hoped the ride would not last too long because he wanted to return home. The accident happened while he was riding with Carl Backenstrasse. They were heading south on Route 11 in Onondaga when, just beyond the Route 81 overpass, Contos faced an issue with his shoelaces and looked down. On the other side of a hill, bikers had slowed for a dead raccoon. Contos braked hard when he saw them, causing his bike to fishtail and lose control. It did not look like a hard fall, but Contos lost consciousness. Blood streamed from his mouth, nose, and ears, and his temple throbbed. The bike sustained some damage but was still operational. State police announced that Contos could have survived if he had worn a helmet, a judgment supported by the doctor at SUNY Upstate, who declared Contos dead. The official cause of death, according to the Onondaga County Medical Examiner's Office, was blunt force injuries of the head and chest, determined through an external examination and x-rays. However, the circumstances raised questions among friends and family about whether a helmet would have truly made a difference. Contos' brother Richard mentioned that his heart lining was punctured, his ribs were broken, and his chest filled with blood. These injuries left uncertainty about when and how the fatal impact occurred, be it during the fall or contact with a guardrail. Standing tall at about 6'3", Contos was hardy and persistent. He held a commercial driver's license and worked as a truck driver, although his strong-willed nature occasionally clashed with management, leading to job changes. Sometimes his passion for hunting took precedence, resulting in job losses or voluntary departures. He lived life on his own terms. He never married, did not bother with computers, and found joy watching TV shows about the great outdoors via his satellite dish. In the end, Contos' death was a tragedy, which according to many people could have been avoided. Number 6. A bad fall at Niagara Falls. At around 12:35 p.m. on October 1st, 1995, a California stunt school graduate's Daredevil stunt at Niagara Falls ended badly when his parachute failed to open. 39-year-old Robert Overacker from Camarillo rode a personal watercraft off the Canadian Horseshoe Falls, and this long-planned feat was witnessed by onlookers. Overacker's parachute mishap resulted in a fatal fall from a height of 180 feet, with Niagara Falls Parks Police describing the impact similar to hitting cement. After the accident, Overacker was rushed to the Greater Niagara General Hospital, but was pronounced dead about an hour later. An autopsy in nearby Hamilton, Ontario, provided more insight into what went wrong. The Daredevil had been planning this stunt for 7 years, aiming to draw attention to homelessness. His motorized ski bore the sign reading, "Save the Homeless." His brother Michael Zurich from San Antonio, Texas, and friend Christopher Euermans from Ventura were present to document the event. Overacker had taken 2 previous trips to the falls for similar stunts, but was dissuaded both times by friends. His plan included equipping himself with a life preserver and parachute. The idea was to release the motorized ski as it went over the edge, activate the parachute, and descend safely into the water. Overacker initiated the stunt in front of a crowd of 2,000 to 3,000 tourists at the busy site. A tour bus driver who spotted him alerted the police. The device on his back, described as a rocket-propelled parachute, was intended to propel him clear of the motorized ski, but specific details were not provided. Once Overracker reached the front of the falls, he was transferred to the tour boat Maiden of the Mist and then taken to shore. Medical personnel made efforts to revive him during the journey, but were unsuccessful. The exact cause of death was not immediately disclosed, as Overracker's body displayed no apparent injuries or bruises when initially examined. His wife Laurie Overracker was informed of the incident shortly thereafter. She, along with friends, gathered at their Camarillo home, but opted not to make any comments. Overracker became the fifth person to lose their life at Niagara Falls since 1901. Number 5. An unusual criminal. In July 2005, a disturbing incident unfolded in King County, Washington, involving 39-year-old Kenneth Pinion, a Boeing engineer living in Gig Harbor. He lost his life during an act of bestiality with a stallion at a farm near Enumclaw. Pinion, captured in a video recorded by a friend, engaged in anal intercourse with a stallion, resulting in a perforated colon which ultimately caused his death. This incident was widely reported by the Seattle Times and became one of the paper's most read stories that year. The explicit video was also circulated on the internet. The incident took place on a 40-acre farm in an unincorporated area in King County. Pinion, along with James Michael Tate, who lived in a nearby trailer, and another unidentified person, had been visiting the farm to engage in sexual acts with horses. Pinion's death was because of acute peritonitis due to colon perforation, deemed accidental by the medical examiner's office. Disturbingly, Pinion, seemingly concerned about the consequences of his unusual injury and its impact on his job security, delayed seeking medical attention, exasperating his condition. The investigation led authorities to the farm, where they uncovered numerous videotapes documenting these illicit activities. Despite seizing and examining these videos, no evidence of harm to the horses was found, preventing animal cruelty charges. Trespassing charges were filed against Tate due to a lack of other legal grounds. The media outlets initially withheld Pinion's name, but it was eventually revealed. Tate, the photographer of these disturbing acts, faced charges of criminal trespassing in the first degree. He pleaded guilty and received a suspended 1-year sentence, a $300 fine, and 1 day of community service, with strict orders to stay away from the farm. The aftermath of Pinion's death led to Senate Bill 6417 in Washington, which criminalized bestiality as a Class C felony, effectively ending the 117-year legality of such acts in the state. The law also prohibited videotaping individuals engaging in sexual acts with animals, aiming to hold individuals accountable for these actions. In 2009, Tate faced further legal troubles, being held in Tennessee for similar charges of engaging in bestiality. In January 2010, he pleaded guilty to these charges in a Tennessee court and was placed on probation. Number 4. A fatal food elevator. On December 1st, 2014, a tragic incident occurred involving a college gymnast in Wisconsin. The autopsy report revealed that 21-year-old Brooke Bowers, a senior at Winona State University in Minnesota, died from severe head injuries after her head got trapped in a restaurant's dumbwaiter. Brooke was working at a banquet on the second floor of the Wing Dam Saloon and Grill. According to the police, a cook in the restaurant heard the floor elevator descending to the first floor, but did not hear any sounds of distress. When he went to check, he discovered Brooke trapped inside. The investigation indicates that Brooke was the one who pressed the control button for the dumbwaiter on the second floor. The report emphasizes that due to the lack of doors on the cab, operators must stay clear to avoid injury as it ascends or descends. Police did not suspect any criminal activity in this tragic incident. The autopsy results showed that Brooke suffered fatal crushing injuries to her brainstem and cerebellum when the dumbwaiter passed through the second floor. It's believed that her head was nearly entirely inside the cab, slightly tilted to the right when this happened. Operating the dumbwaiter only allowed about 5 seconds before the interior of the cab went below the sill, leaving little time for action. Following this tragic event, the dumbwaiter was permanently removed. Both federal and state regulators launched separate investigations into the matter. Brooke was a remarkable gymnast and a source of strength for her team at Winona State University. Her boyfriend Joel Hink had plans to marry her, and the college community mourned the loss of a talented gymnast and leader. Number 3. The Deaf Man's Fault. In March 2019, a deaf man lost his life in a senseless dispute over a parking space at a Sainsbury's supermarket in Pontlandfraith, Caerphilly. 48-year-old Christopher Gadd, who rarely went out, left his home for a shopping trip with his brother, 49-year-old Paul Gadd. The brothers had a simple plan, as they just wanted to buy some cans of cider from Sainsbury's, collect a prescription from the pharmacy, and grab some takeaway fish and chips. But parking was scarce at their local Sainsbury's, and shoppers were searching for available spaces. Moments after parking, the two drivers noticed a younger driver in a Land Rover Freelander making rude gestures at them. Paul, who wore hearing aids in both ears, decided to approach the driver to inquire about the issue. That's when the car swerved and struck him. The situation escalated into a tragedy, and Christopher never had a chance to find out what provoked the driver. Christopher, deaf and known for his simple life of caring for his dog and enjoying TV shows, had his hearing aids thrown out due to the force of the impact. Gwent police began the murder investigation, leading to the arrest of 21-year-old Timothy Higgins from the Caerphilly area, who is still in custody. In the end, Higgins was found guilty of murder and was imprisoned for 5 years. Number 2. Some light-hearted teasing. On October 26, 2022, a teenager murdered 19-year-old Luke O'Connor in Fallowfield, Manchester. The trial, taking place at Manchester Crown Court, heard the distressing details of how 19-year-old Shiloh George Pottinger used a flick knife known as a mafia stiletto to fatally stab O'Connor. O'Connor, a student at Manchester Metropolitan University, was walking home with friends on Wilmslow Road, a bustling student area, at around 2 a.m. They encountered Pottinger, who was leaning against a shutter while holding a skateboard. Pottinger's violent reaction came in response to a seemingly harmless comment from one of O'Connor's friends, Charlie Robertson, who asked if Pottinger could perform a kickflip with his skateboard. It was meant to be a light-hearted jest, but Pottinger did not take it that way. Pottinger responded with aggression, making a comment and advancing toward O'Connor. He then drew the flick knife from his pocket, holding it in front of O'Connor and smiling. O'Connor tried to push Pottinger away and create distance, but Pottinger struck him with his skateboard, causing it to fly from his hand. Despite O'Connor's efforts to retreat, Pottinger pressed forward, thrusting the knife toward O'Connor's armpit area, piercing his suit jacket. CCTV footage played during the trial showed a struggle between the two, which spilled onto the road. O'Connor tried to defend himself, punching Pottinger and grabbing onto him, but Pottinger repeatedly stabbed O'Connor in the body during the scuffle, with Robertson briefly getting involved in the tussle. As O'Connor grabbed Pottinger and they both fell to the ground, Pottinger dropped his knife, but the fatal damage had already been done. O'Connor collapsed on the road, covered in blood. Paramedics got to the scene, treating O'Connor before rushing him to the hospital in cardiac arrest. He was pronounced dead at 4:51 a.m. The autopsy revealed that he had sustained 8 knife wounds, resulting in severe internal injuries, including damage to arteries and organs. Pottinger allegedly fled the scene after the attack, discarding his jacket and skateboard and attempting to wash his clothes to avoid detection. The prosecution argued that Pottinger's actions earlier in the night, including going drinking at a nearby bar after climbing over a wall, suggested he wanted to avoid being searched by security staff, potentially discovering the knife. Pottinger faces a murder charge and has pleaded not guilty. The trial is still ongoing. Number 1. Tree inside a lung. In April 2009, a strange medical case emerged from Izhevsk, Russia, involving a 28-year-old man named Artyom Sidorsky. He was experiencing severe symptoms, including coughing up blood and chest pain, which led to him seeking medical attention at a local hospital. Doctors performed an X-ray to investigate further, and according to reports, it revealed signs of a tumor. After this, they decided to go for a biopsy, and during this procedure, they stumbled upon what appeared to be a 5-centimeter fir tree sapling inside Sidorsky's lung. Dr. Vladimir Kamashev, the deputy head surgeon at the Udmurtian Cancer Center, called his assistant to confirm what he was seeing. The medical team was baffled, as the size of the fir tree branch made it impossible for it to have been inhaled or swallowed by the patient. But skepticism arose regarding the authenticity of this extraordinary case. Some experts questioned whether it could be a hoax, given the unusual circumstances. Professor Peter Kotanen, a plant ecology researcher at the University of Toronto, was doubtful about the tree's growth inside a lung. He explained that seeds typically require light for germination and growth, which would be impossible in the darkness of a human lung. Kotanen also pointed out that the seedling looked larger than expected for a fir tree and looked way too healthy, which is unusual for plants growing in the absence of sunlight. Professor Sean Thomas, a Canada Research Chair in Forests and Environmental Change, supported this viewpoint, emphasizing that human body temperatures would not support the development of a cold-adapted tree species. There are also discrepancies in the X-ray itself. It showed a conifer with different leaf angles and a more filamentous appearance than the object found in the lung tissue. Another radiologist noted that the growth plate in the shoulder suggested a pediatric case, not that of a 28-year-old patient. These doubts led some to believe that the entire story could be a hoax, especially considering it coincided with April Fool's Day, according to the Russian Julian calendar. Russian news agencies have been known to publish hoaxes in the past. According to the doctors, the spruce was touching the man's capillaries and causing him severe pain. In the end, it was removed, and the patient's pain went away. While speaking about his experience, he said that he had never felt a foreign object inside his body. Sidorkin was relieved that it was not cancer, but the rest of the world was still skeptical about how authentic this incident was. Which one of these felt like the most unavoidable death to you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bad Badger.